Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
Down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is
No,
but a
no.
dream.
What's this? Hang on. I've come here to be part of a serious Star Trek podcast, and here's you discussing the state of public transport if the Tories get in again. Or Trump. I mean, well, to be fair though, after that happens, the only free way to travel is probably Rwanda, but still.
It's a song, you feathered tit.
I am not a merry man.
Okay. Fuck
I am not a merry man.
I am not a merry man. Speaking of the future politics.
Oh, look at this. It's the Velvet Snatch accessories. Fuck the Tories. Fuck the Tories.
Fuck 'em.
Get a marigold and smack
Get a
Rishi
marigold.
Sunak in the face.
Hilariously,
Anyway.
it just got announced today that I'm part of a show on election night called Tories, but obviously it means fuck the Tories. But I get to play a drag Theresa May, which should be quite fun
Not
and very offensive.
not a Margaret Snatcher.
Well, no, the plot is that we have to plead for a second and an additional term from Margaret Thatcher. So it's going to have the ghost of Thatcher as one of the characters.
Anyway.
Yeah, it should be silly. Anyway, Trekkin. It's weird. It's after not having you here last week, and me and Baron kind of stumbling through, being like, "Shit, how do we do an episode?" And then it's both of you. It's like a double whammy. We get both Mark and Goodwill back.
Anyway.
I just had a distinct lack of British politics in my life.
All you need to know.
Come hang out with you guys.
This is all you need to know. Fuck the Tories. Anyway, space.
The
final.
Fair, actually.
Shut up! I'm doing my intro.
Oh, it's following Mark. It's following Mark.
Space.
No. Mark has enabled stalker mode on his iPad, so
God.
basically.
God, I like doing this better
Could we
before
not
I
have
died.
Could we not have put like a what do you call it?
A crosshair.
A crosshair on the screen for this.
Anyway.
We'll get him. We'll get Mark.
Anyway. Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Adequate. Our ongoing mission until we are cancelled and replaced by something far superior. To review every episode and movie of Star Trek in existence. To seek out new guests and make them very uncomfortable. To boldly go where very many other Star Trek-based YouTube shows have gone before. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers all over this fair, screwed planet of ours. I am Captain Goodwill of the U.S.S. Adequate. This is Trekking Up North. Joining me as ever, he's a Geesian. He's from the planet Honk. He gave me the gift of a marigold, which in his culture means I'm engaged to him. It's Science Officer Synoiz.
Is it not like Dobby getting a sock? Have I set
I'm
you free
free.
accidentally, Goodwill?
I'm free to slap people at will.
Master Goodwill has been given a sock.
It's...
I'm a free Goodwill. I may leave Redcar now.
Yay. It's Science Officer Synoiz, everybody. Hello, hello.
Hello. If you hadn't noticed I was here before then, you are blind and possibly deaf. So...
And he is back. His hair is longer, his beard is shinier, and he's introducing the new knee cam feature of Trekking Up North. Or sniper cam, depending on what He's not actually moving away, guys. He's shrinking actively of his own volition. It's brilliant.
I just like that when he's up close to the camera, it looks like that meme of the goose looking down on someone and saying
pathetic.
That's it.
Live from his fridge,
There we
it's
go.
Mark Cartier. Hello, Mark.
Hello.
Oh my god.
I love that Mark, for the purpose of this film, is doing his best Cybok impression. I suddenly feel the urge to join a cult with him.
I need my pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take away my pain, Mark.
I need my pain.
It's it's like
I was on the internet this morning trying to figure out how to digitally hug you in such a way that you would cry and follow me across this desert planet.
I mean, to be fair, it's one thing that Star Trek got right. Like, in the future, everyone, like, just desperate for hugs. It's just this dystopian future.
if you are not digging
What's the name of the
holes-
planet in this movie? Is it Nimbus 3?
Nimbus 3, the
Nimbus
planet
3.
of galactic peace.
What's the name of the ship on Futurama? Is it the Nimbus?
Yes, it is. Yes, Zach Brannigan's ship. Oh, Zach Brannigan.
Zach
who
Brannigan's
wears-
ship. Is it
who wears
Nimbus
velour.
4?
It's something like that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to Google that now. God damn it!
That's,
look
a,
like
that's a
Zach
crazy
Brannigan
reference
today.
if that's true.
Futurama Nimbus. We do look like I should have really
Also
organized the cameras
bad.
better. I should have organized the cameras better because we could have had like the 3 stages of male pattern baldness. It would have been Mark with luscious locks. Baldness. Yeah.
Baldness is when you kick me out.
Nimbus.
Thankfully, we are now baldless.
Oh my god! It is just the Nimbus. So yeah, it's no name. It is no name. Right, we are here, everybody. I am back from sickbay after Synoiz locked me in there from affecting me from COVID.
Well, no, I fired you into a sun as well, but you know we don't talk about the good things.
You did.
To be fair, how after what I did to you, how are you still alive? This is Star Wars bullshit, where it's literally we needed a screen where it's like somehow Goodwill has returned, somehow Goodwill has survived.
I just entered the
which
bridge.
I'm going to give the award of the worst plot hole in all of cinema.
I re-entered the bridge, covered in feathers, knife in my mouth, a necklace of beaks, and I just looked at Synoiz and just went, "I survived." That's how I took command. But we are here. Better late than never. We
I love
are
that my
here.
natural response would have been drat and double drat. You know, it's one of those typical villain moves. Yeah.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that. It should be like, bollocks.
You stare at me and I'm just like, I'm back. Moopsie. This is City Alpha 5! We... Fuck, that's a few movies
Do you
ago.
think they should have got Khan to man the telephone station or something there, where whenever anyone rings, they're like, "Hello, who am I through to, please?" This is City Alpha 5. This is Blockbuster Video. But
Be kind, rewind!
this is Virgin Media. But
Oh,
that would
no,
suggest
no.
they had human phone operators. Anyhow,
No, they're too busy trying to keep Branson alive. Anyway, we are here to review Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Now,
Yay!
the first
This is
question...
the greatest movie. This is one of the best movies of all time.
The first question I have...
you're not even going to clarify that. You're not going to be like out of a selection.
doesn't need
of
clarification.
thus. You know, you're just like of all time.
But here's the
It
question.
simply is. It's the greatest narrative experience ever conceived of by humankind. Star Trek V is sheer perfection. I love this movie.
Well, to
He
be fair, we're
really
getting
does.
into election season, so we're starting with the bold, sweeping statements early. But
No. But I do have a question for you both. Star Trek 1 or Star Trek 5, which is worse?
oh, one.
Well, okay. First off,
Well, one
Worst
isn't a
is a
movie; it's a
terrible-
cereal packet. Like it's just It's bullshit. One, I hate it. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
five is definitely a lot better than one.
Yeah, I agree.
But
Star
do
Trek
you agree,
5.
Mark? Because I know that you like one.
I really like one. I like Star
Why?
Trek one because I'm not an asshole.
Look, it's the
Oh!
only skill I have. Good. It's the only skill I have.
Oh!
I've got a PhD in assholery. Wait, no, that was.
There's so much heart put into the making of that movie. There's so much that's good about Star Trek in the movie. If you can kind of get through the 70s show off, slow grind thing. I don't know.
If they released the 30-minute edit of it, I'd be a lot kinder to it. That's how I feel. I feel like if
Oh
they
my
just released
God.
the episode, it should have been.
That's what we should do is we should put together and present to the world the 1 minute version of Star Trek, the motion picture. And try to
30
tell the
seconds
story of that whole movie in 1 minute. It's that moment where Spock is like having a seizure in his face.
It would basically be Spock having a seizure and then the android walking through the wall, walking through the doorway, and then the end of the movie. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm willing to fill the minute with those 3 bits and be like, there you go.
Yeah.
You saw
What
the
does
best
she
bit.
say? The tour is over. What does she
Yeah,
say when she walks through the wall?
I think it's just a general mood of just like, I am bored. Entertain
Yes.
me.
Yeah. Next scene now.
We've seen this room now. Yes.
Yeah.
Persis
That's why I
Kantata
like at
is
parties.
bored.
I've seen this kitchen now.
Star Trek 5 gets a lot of bad rap, but it was a product of a time where there was a culmination of events which doomed it to failure, review-wise, critically. We had the 88 Writers Guild strike.
We're getting groomed by Mark.
Oh my God, he's in 1080p. I love how it focuses down.
Or are you just happy to see me?
It focuses down to his chest, and it's like I wasn't looking, and goes back up to his face. My eyes are up here, asshole. Yeah. But it was a product of a combination of failures, which sort of doomed it in a way. We had the Writers Guild of America strike in '88. We had ILM who weren't available at the time to do the VFX shots, so it was sent to a subpar studio which delivered incomplete and just frankly piss poor VFX. But the one thing I will absolutely defend Star Trek 5 to the hilt is the story and the writing. I think the script is hilarious. I think it humanizes the crew. It gives crew that haven't really had a say their own like 5 minutes of fame. Uhura is just like is just the mother of the group, just herding them all together. The will that they
makes
won't
Scotty
they...
a MILF hunter, right?
Oh, absolutely. The will they won't they with Scotty and Uhura. I absolutely love that, especially when he's in sickbay. He's like, I don't think I could handle it in my health. Oh, yours. And he's just like, damn, Scotty knows. In this instance, Scotty does know. But we see like everyone just has the 5 minutes of like has their shot, has their comedic value in this. Sulu, Chekhov when they get lost in the wilderness.
Yosemite National Park.
Yosemite National Park.
I love how that place is like as big as England. Like I didn't realize the scale of like national parks in America, and then someone like a YouTube video basically put it in perspective, and I was like, I understand why so many people get lost and die here. You know, this is not just a park. You know, you can't just walk in one direction and eventually get out somewhere.
But I think this is the film we needed. It was a more interpersonal film where we got to see the crew just more human and just
Star Trek 5?
Yeah, Star Trek 5.
Oh my God, it is absolutely a movie about friendship and about trust and relationships and taking care of each other. Yeah, it is very much that. It is distilled all the way down to the core of friendship.
So the tagline. Sorry, go on.
The thing for me, I'm going to be the difficult one here, okay? Because I did really like this movie. I went into this movie with the lowest expectations because loads of people are like, oh, Star Trek 5, it's rubbish. It failed at the box office, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then I watched it and I was like, this is a great movie. I actually love this movie. but it is far from perfect. There's a lot of like we say, I can't even say the writing and the story are brilliant because I find the story bad, but the character work amazing. So it does exactly what we say. It gives us what we loved from the fourth one, which is, hey, amazing relationships between the characters and loads of jokes and everyone getting their own little scenes and stuff, and takes it like to the maximum, which is amazing. But the actual story, and it's just the fact of it doesn't really have any threat or villain because even Cyborg's kind of likable. Like, you know, you kind of just go,
He's not really a
and then at the
villain,
end,
though.
it turns out he doesn't actually do anything wrong, and it's just a
Yeah.
very weird thing where it's like it's like an adventure, but without like, yeah, I don't know. I can see why it's compared to one because one is
Well,
basically another what is going on here kind of meander, but is shit. Whereas number five, sorry, is very
I'll-
slow and whatnot.
I will give a brief synopsis to anyone who has not seen Star Trek V. I'll give you the tagline. I'll copy Sammy. Wherever you are, Sammy, hello. The greatest enterprise of all is adventure. So that was the tagline for this movie. And the synopsis is, when a renegade Vulcan captures the Federation, Klingon, and Romulan ambassadors from Nimbus 3, the so-called planet of a galactic peace, it can only mean one thing. The vacation is over. Captain James T. Kirk and the crew of the new Starship Enterprise A are pressed back into service to come to the rescue. But when the Vulcan has a prior association with Spock, it allows him to seize control of the Enterprise and put it on course for the centre of the galaxy, where he and his followers believe they will find the place from which creation sprung.
Excuse me. What does God need with a starship?
Yeah. It is. It's got
I
a
mean,
good
I
premise.
will admit we'll get to it, but
Yeah.
the ending of this film is, like, I've said it a lot of times, but you can see the exact point when the edibles kicked in because it is just like,
Oh, this is fun. This is my first time talking to a group of Brits about this movie. How do you feel about Stonehenge getting knocked over at the end of this movie?
Good.
There.
Yeah.
Good.
Mixes it up a bit, you know, like it's to be fair, Stonehenge is one of the last things we've got that Thatcher didn't sell off. So basically, like,
No, but she did put
it's
a
been on
road.
borrowed time since the late 80s anyway.
She did put a motorway right next to it. So that was the greatest. She
I
was like,
wanted to go through it, but the Liberals wouldn't let me.
you want to enjoy this tourist attraction? Then get cancer during it. And it's just, you know, so Thatcher.
Oh my
It's-
God, that's so Thatcher.
It's
Fuck the
so
Tories.
Thatcher. Fuck the Tories. Fuck the Tories. It's yeah, the problem with the problem with this movie deserved to be longer, but we know that the production was severely trimmed because of everything that was going on. I think the movie could have been longer, and it could have fleshed out certain ideas a little bit better because I think the last act, it is very rushed when it comes to that, but we'll get to that. It is very much like Mark said, it's very much about friendship, this. And we just see like the opening of the film where we just see Kirk climbing El Capitan, and we just see Kirk, Spock, and McCoy enjoying shore leave, and it's the realization that, I mean, obviously after
Enjoying shore leave.
enjoying, yeah,
McCoy
off,
just being at his wit's end.
falling off a mountain. I love that McCoy's like watching
Talking to myself. I better before I start talking to myself.
God damn, Dancing with Danger.
But it's how perfectly all the characters are written in. I can't fault any of the characters because they're all wonderfully done. Like McCoy is hilarious in every scene he does. Like the relationship between Spock, Kirk, and McCoy is gold throughout the whole thing. It's this first scene is no exception. It's brilliant.
It's the campfire scene I absolutely love, because we just get this intimate. This for me is what a group of friends are like. Like you get three close friends, and it's just constant ripping, constant like little in jokes, and just digging on each other and stuff. Like, you know, McCoy about suggesting a campfire song, and then they're doing "Row, Row, Row Your Boat," and And he's like, "Do you know row your boat?" And he's just like, "I'm not familiar with that." And then he's like contemplating the lyrics as the singing, and you can see McCoy just getting more and more annoyed. And he's like, "It's a song, you
What does it
green-blooded."
mean?
Yeah, you green-blooded.
Doesn't it have the best line ever? I wrote it down where it's like, "God, I liked him better before he died."
I liked him better before he died.
But even the scene, like when McCoy's like, "You really pissed me off," like when he was climbing El Capitan, and Kirk's just like, it's a really intimate moment for Kirk because he's like, "I've always known I'll die alone." And it is a really intimate moment for him. But then it's like interspersed with like, you get a dead serious moment, and then Spock pulls out the legitimate marshmallow distributor, which was for sale in 1989 under the Star Trek merchandise thing. It was legitimate. It was real. It was real.
Well, you stuck a marshmallow in it, and then it would give it back to you, sort of in some weird ejection.
Yeah. So it was like a really suggestive Pez dispenser, where you inserted it into the rear, and then slowly and surely, as you pushed the button and teased it, the marshmallow would come out.
This is sounding very familiar.
You would then impale said marshmallow on something hard and wooden, and make sure it became nice and crispy before you put it in your mouth. But that stuff is sort of
chat. Speaking of which, I've suddenly been reminded of him.
He literally is, highly. But it like stuff like that is interspersed with these serious moments, and then I love the bit with where they're going to sleep, and it's just like, "Good night, Spock. Good night, Jim. Good night, Doctor." And just Kirk just goes, "I don't know. I really just don't know." It's tiny little
marshmallow dispenser actually. Like,
Yes.
I assumed it was just a portable replicator or something, and he just programmed it in, like they do with the what's it called, the injection things that the med crew have, where they can just go, "Hey, make this," and then replicate it quickly. I assumed that's what it was meant to be, not just he has a portable marshmallow dispenser.
In the summer of 1989, Kraft sold replicas of Spock's marshmallow dispenser via mail order for their jet-puffed marshmallows. So it literally, you loaded the marshmallow in, and then it just slowly fired it back out. I mean, come on.
Wow.
Come on.
I just went camping. Eric and I just went camping, and we were going to make s'mores. We were going to make marshmallows. And I was thinking about how wonderful it would be to just have that marshmallow dispenser and not have to go to the store and get the bag and hope it's not too hot in the car, because then they all get sticky. And I was like, why can't we just have the dispenser that just gives me the world's longest marshmallow?
I somehow...
We're going to see you suddenly on your phone just going on eBay during this, being like, right, let's find one of those fuckers.
I somehow envision like this starlit night, and there's a campfire, and Erica goes, "Shall we make sport?" And Mark's just like, "Yes, dear." And he just pulls out this 1989 Kraft marshmallow, and then he looks Erica lovingly in the eyes, and all he hears, and this little marshmallow slowly comes out.
I won't have
Maybe
you
reading my slash fiction
of love.
It enhances it, but
I knew we were gonna get stuck on the fucking marshmallow machine. I knew it.
It's just strange. It's just genuinely a weird addition that they just went, why does this exist? Like, you know, in terms of where the budget was cut in other areas, but they still had this.
But we had David Warner again, before he was Chancellor Gorkon in Star Trek VI as the Terran ambassador to Nimbus 3, because we see Cybok, this mysterious laughing Vulcan who has the ability to show emotion.
Well, what we get at the beginning is a very Western scene. Like the opener to the movie is basically a very Western type scene where we basically see a desert. We see a guy, sort of, you know, disheveled guy working in the desert, and then suddenly
in the dust storm, nonetheless.
Yeah, and then suddenly we just see this rider off in the distance coming closer, and this guy.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt again, but he's doing the saddest of all sad things. He's digging holes. In which there is nothing.
But enough about
Maybe
Conservative
it's like
Party
Christmas where
policies.
you dig a hole and you hope like you hang
Yeah.
a stocking up and you hope something
You
appears.
find the hope
like-
yet? No. Oh, maybe you
Yeah.
should dig another hole.
Yeah, dig another hole. Maybe in the morning there'll be a will to live in there for you.
Oh.
Anyway,
And
enough
then
about
the
Britain
and
next
then
year.
the Shogun sort of seven samurai Wild West horse guy comes riding in.
It's a very show off scene. It's very much the oh look how amazing our cinematography is kind of scene, and it lasts a bit too long for what it is. And I was fully expecting. I would have preferred it if it was like Monty Python. You know, the bit where the knight is riding towards the camera, and it keeps going, and he never gets closer, and then the
Yes.
next shot is
Yes.
he's literally a meter away and
Yeah.
stabs the guy. Yeah, that's
Well,
what
I
I
don't
was
know what a
expecting
meter
that
is,
to
but
be.
he got real close. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought you were going to reference the Monty Python intro where the fella's just running across the sand dunes and just right at the end, it's like, and then just the intro.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
is a weird thing though, because like one thing that I noticed in this film that I think is really interesting is basically the guy, when he sees the rider coming, immediately goes, oh, it's a threat. So he grabs his gun. Naturally, he keeps his gun unloaded while he's not using it, which seems
Got to
odd.
load it with rocks.
Yeah, so he has to load it with like pellets, rocks, or whatever, and then he sort of aims it at the guy. But then the guy comes off the horse and he's like, "Hello,
Are you
I'm
really
Space
gonna
Jesus."
shoot me
Yeah, that's
for a
it.
field of empty holes?
Can you tell
But yeah,
Mark loves this
and
movie?
then we get this exchange between them that's confusing, but kind of leads into the movie where like the man who we later find out is Cyborg, basically hugs him and listens to him, and then the guy suddenly
Yeah, he
becomes
says
this
it's
weird
all I
convert.
have.
Yeah. And then this guy becomes a convert, and then just immediately wants to follow Cyborg to the end of the earth. And it's a weird.
How do you
Intro.
see my pain? Know my pain? How do you know my pain?
You're digging holes in a fucking desert, mate. I can
Yeah.
guess.
Isn't
There's
this the
something
most?
going on here.
Isn't this
I'm
the
assuming
most-
it's not sunshine and lollipops for you.
Yeah. Isn't this the most 80s premise though, where like a cult leader is literally just a therapist? Is it?
I think it is. That's exactly kind of what it is, because you can tell it wasn't made in the 90s because nobody died. Like, effectively. Whereas if they were going, hey, what's the epitome of a cult in the 90s? And it's going to be very different to how it was in the 70s and 80s.
But it's yeah, and then
it's an interesting opening, and then I want to say the credits, the actual credits that we get, are my favorite credits out of all the movies, because it does the sin that all of them do, where it's just bloody words with nothing going on. So it's just space and then some words, but it cuts it in half this time. It cuts it in half, and then it actually continues the credits while stuff is happening.
bloody credits.
I just hate it. Like, what was the one I watched? It was at Nemesis. And Nemesis literally takes like 4 minutes, and it's just badly CGI'd words over a background.
Credits.
Yeah,
But
and it's
Terrible.
but
Well,
Star
the
Trek
thing
First
is, yeah,
Contact
then
changed
awful-
that because you had a banging theme tune.
Well, no, that's it, and it works here because obviously we get the Next Generation, the motion picture soundtrack theme back, and it just works. It kind of goes, hey, here's the essential stuff where it's just words against the backdrop, but then here's Kirk climbing a mountain, and we'll continue the credits over that, and it just works a lot better. If you have to have the bloody screen with words going on and nothing happening, at least it's short.
Yeah, and like I said, we get the campfire scene, and we see the Enterprise in an absolute shitty.
You've totally missed the the Kirk falling off a mountain and
No, I
getting
haven't.
saved by Spock on rocket boots.
We mentioned it earlier, but yeah, Spock on rocket Spocket boots, shall we call
Yeah,
them?
because you see it in the opening picture, isn't it? Where it's quite surreal that Kirk is climbing a mountain. Spock is basically interrupts him while wearing rocket boots that have never been seen ever again. And then, and basically hovers next to him, basically antagonizing him and being like, what a stupid thing you're doing. You're climbing a mountain. What's the point of climbing a mountain? You're going to die if you're not careful, And then basically Kirk makes a mistake, slips, falls down, nearly to his death, and Spock catches him at the last minute, which hilariously exacerbates McCoy being absolutely to his wits' end.
But Kirk does the old, hero pun. Hi, Bones. Mind if we drop in for dinner? And he's just like, oh, this is.
But I think the reason why I'm just drawing attention to this is that this sets a very different tone to the other movies that we've got. It's a very comedic movie. It's a very, it doesn't take itself particularly serious, like, tone to the movie. And it's very much comedy and buddy comedy kind of thing.
It's,
and,
it's
jarring.
I would say...
It's honestly jarring after the previous four, but it's not unwelcome.
It's I would agree it's buddy comedy, because you do get Sulu Chekhov, Uhura, Scotty, and then obviously the Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. It does intersperse it with elements of drama, which is good. The fact that like we get to see like the first inklings of Scotty and Uhura in this film, and that is never explored ever again, which makes me very sad, because when they're on the bridge of the Enterprise and he's just like, oh, this ship was put together by monkeys, sure, she's got the fine engine, but half the doors won't open, and you're just like, yeah, I can feel your pain.
Is that how he's describing Uhura?
And then when she
that's why they don't get back together.
That, you slut. And then when like she brings him dinner on the bridge, and then you just see like the hand hold, and you're just like, oh, it's happening. There's romance, and then there's nothing else after this film. Like there's nothing in Star Trek 6 at all, and it's sad, because it would have been nice.
It would have been nice, but I kind of like that they add this multifacet to the characters, because we're kind of used to, in the previous films, it goes, oh, here's what Chekhov does for this movie, and his whole point in the movie is for this particular thing, and the whole point of Sulu in this movie is to do this, and it doesn't quite know how to use them. Whereas in this one, we get it where like Scotty has his own little plot of what he's doing on the ship and stuff like that, but then has an additional one, which is this relationship between that. And it's an extra facet to these characters that I think is really, really nice. But it is a shame that like the movie isn't longer and we didn't get to explore it. Because if it had just had a scene towards the end of them, like maybe some actual peril. If we had a scene where Uhura or Scotty was actually in danger, and then the other one goes, actually, I couldn't deal with you getting hurt kind of thing, so let's not have this. Let's not do a relationship while we're still, on a ship kind of thing. Like, if it had had that kind of thing, it would have been this nice blossoming thing, but, oh, no, actually, it can't be. But once again, like we're saying, once again, the movie just needed more. It just needed more time at the end and more time throughout to explain stuff, such as how the fuck Cybok manages to, cure people's ills.
Yeah. Obviously the Enterprise crew get recalled. And we see like Chekhov and Sulu don't know where they are. They're lost. So they're just like, we're caught in a blizzard.
Yeah.
And Uhura's just like...
If you haven't seen the movie, basically, Uhura calls everyone to basically say, hey, come back to the ship. And Sulu and Chekhov are like, oh, yeah, we'd love to, but we don't actually know where we are. We're kind of lost in the woods somewhere. So could you, and then they pretend to be in a blizzard so that she's like, oh, well, hoping that she's going to teleport them out or something. And she basically sees through the full ruse and, goes, okay, I'll send a shuttle pod for you.
Kirk is very, he was very me in that scene where they send down the shuttle for Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And it's like, oh, the transporters didn't work. Why didn't you beat the communicator? You never took it. And it's like, oh. And that's exactly what I'm like. Yeah, it's just like, why? You tried to call me. Why did you try to call me? You never took it. Oh, what a shame. And
you don't say.
Yeah,
although you've got to admit, though, there's no way that Spock wouldn't have had his communicator with him. So it's the sort of thing of going, oh, hurry, you should have called Spock. You should have called the responsible one.
But the first plot hole I have, and I know why they're doing it, because it's the Enterprise and it's the crew, but it's like when they get back onto the ship and they go to the bridge and you see Kirk, go climb a rock and he's wearing his uniform. Why is Mark gone suddenly very emo? I don't know. It's not a phase, Mom.
Yeah, it's not a fake. He's wanting
It's not a
Cybok to
fake.
cure his pain. He's just
Yeah.
like, you
You don't
can't
even
handle
know
my
what
pain, Cybok.
sadness is.
Even Cybok would go to Mark and go, I'm out. The
No, Cybok would convert to Mark. Cybok
Yes.
would suddenly be like, actually.
Because I know his pain.
where do you learn
Sorry,
this
I didn't mean
bitterness?
to disappear. Erica found a bug.
That is probably the best reason to.
It's a feature.
There was
But,
a bug in the closet.
There's a bug in the closet. Oh.
I love how we're like, oh, a bug, like a little sort of ant or something, and obviously it's an American bug, so it means it was.
It was
the
a
size of the room.
silverfish with. If anyone's familiar with silverfish, they're
Silverfish.
Silverfish. It's predominantly found where there is damp and mold in a household because Britain.
Silverfish.
Oh my god, he's googling silverfish live on air.
That's not a fish.
Okay, but yeah, my first my first issue with the film is like he's getting a briefing from the admiral on the bridge, and he's like, "Oh, there's a situation on Nimbus 3, and we need the Enterprise there." And he's just like, "The Enterprise is a disaster. Surely there's other ships." And he's like, "Yes, there's other ships, but I need James Kirk." And surely Kirk would have just gone, "Give me a ship that works."
Yeah, put me on a
Instead-
ship that works.
Yeah, exactly. Give me.
Well-
Don't put me on a jalopy. Give me something that will fly.
Well, yeah, it is a massive flaw because they just kind of go like, "Oh, but we need the experienced crew," and I'm like, "Now, I don't want to suggest that Starfleet, like command are incompetent, but how about you take the competent crew from this ship and put them on another ship, which
That works."
Especially the
Wild
Excelsior
idea,
that is
yeah.
like parked right behind them as well. And it's just
And
like,
I love that international gesture, the international symbol of a ship not working is the elevator doors having problems.
Yes.
I mean, that's accurate, but could I just
This is
interject?
actually
Mike?
indicative. What you're hitting on right now is really indicative of a lot of the problems that this movie has. Because while I say this is the greatest narrative of all time, what I really feel like are all the great ideas were not entirely fleshed out.
Yeah.
The idea that they're on vacation, they get called back from vacation. It just seemed like the nuance of that was not fleshed out. It could have been a lot more interesting, a lot more funny. It was sort of just a throwaway. The ship being in a kind of falling apart, not working. They used it to some comic effect, and they used it as sort of like foreshadowing for some issues they're going to have down the road. Fine, but it doesn't really pay off.
What I was
Just
saying,
like the center of the universe being the Great Barrier, and it turns out just to be like this weird little planet with a plasma field around it. It's like that's not the center of the galaxy. Like, there's so many big ideas that just were not fleshed out in this movie.
What I was saying when you had to go away was the fact of this movie desperately needs another half hour to round out all of the plots, such as like
this movie would be an entire season of Discovery.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But I would enjoy it. But the idea is never forget Goodwill. What we've got is because there's
no
two of us.
spoilers
We
on
have
Discovery, by the way. I haven't seen the end of the season.
it's all right. Synoiz has not seen season 3. So let's go.
no, I haven't. No, I haven't made it through season 3. I'm watching 2 episodes at a time, and then I go and do something better, and then forget to get back to it. That's
I
basically
miss-
why I'm struggling.
What I miss from Synoiz, just before you go, what I do miss from Synoiz is he watches an episode of Discovery and then I get voice notes longer than that episode of Discovery reviewing the episode where 90% of the note is just and it's just
What? I hope. Oh, good. They're not making Michael Burnham the key plot point for this episode. Never mind. Never mind. That's what happened. Maybe they're going to give some of the bridge crew names. No, never mind. They're dead now. But
Lieutenant who?
But yeah. But no, it's just like all of the things would be fixed by just having more time with this movie.
Yeah.
Like just, and it's such a shame. Like it's the whole Cybok cult thing. Great idea. Never explored properly. The whole like how like it just feels like so many scenes are missed. Like it literally, I mean, I know we know what happens, but we basically have it where when Cybok takes the capital, I guess, on Nimbus 3, when Cybok's like cultists basically capture the capital, like what's it called? Pleasure City?
Paradiso.
Yeah.
Paradise.
Paradise City.
Paradise City.
Paradise City. Yeah, when
Yeah,
they
I know
capture that.
because my dad's favorite song was Paradise City.
The grass is
Take
Take
green
me
and the
down to
girls
the
are pretty.
Paradise
Yeah.
City where the grass is green and the girls are pretty.
No, and the cat girls are pretty. I think it is.
Oh,
Girl.
you leave
Yeah, the
James
cat-
Brown. You leave James Brown, the cat girl, alone, and I will get to that reference when we get to that.
Like, but there's just so many bits where you're like, how did we get there? Like, how did all of the the Klingon, the Terran, the Romulan people just immediately turn? We should have had a scene of him convincing them round or something. And we should have had a scene explaining how a cat girl dies just by being thrown into water. Because when Kirk like sort of chucks her in water, there's no electricity, there's nothing. She just dies from touching water. Which
Well, when they get to Paradise City,
No, she dies from being lifted over his head.
okay,
He
right,
just
cool.
chucks her in the water to get rid of the mass of her body because he's got other things to do.
and as we know,
And it's not, he didn't throw her in the water, he threw her on the pool table, which is
water.
an ironic statement, or it's a
and-
pool table,
But as we
a
know,
literal pool table.
as we know, cats hate water. So what about cats with 3 breasts?
See?
They must detest them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Maybe I was
the-
wrong about how much thought they put into this.
But
Put a lot
it's
of
one of
thought.
there's just loads of bits of the movie that need to be fleshed out. And I guess as we go, we can probably go, this is one of the things where we needed more there.
I loved, and not for the reasons you may suspect, but I loved the Uhura dance to lure away the stablemen. And because I'm like, where did you get the palm leaves? Were you completely naked? Did you have to get changed in front of the crew? What, like,
The thing
plan?
that's missing, the scene that's missing is them convincing Uhura
Yeah.
to do that. You
Yeah.
know, just being like, wait, what?
Listen, Neota, we've got an idea, but you may not like it. But I love the fact she's just like, hello, boys. I've always wanted to play to a captive audience. I loved it so much.
The thing is, I do actually love it. Like, I think it's very silly, but this film has set the tone of this is a very daft interpretation of these characters. But it's more the fact of it's a nice hark back to what Uhura was like in the original series.
Yes.
Which is
Yeah.
that she was a musical interlude. She literally, every other episode was like, here's a reason for Uhura to sing. And we just haven't touched on that at all since,
It's great though because this.
Well, and
this-
also that's one of the notes that I always have about this movie is it's the most original series of the movies, of the original crew movies. It feels like it could have been if you took, the ship getting hijacked and brought to the center of the galaxy, and you just made that. You could have made that the plot of an original series episode, and it would have been great.
Well, this would have worked well as a 3-parter. It would have worked well as like, hey, there's a weird thing happening on this planet. There's some kind of thing they need to go to, and then the conclusion is they actually meet the cultists and they meet Cybok, and he takes control of the Enterprise. Then the second episode is them sort of traveling with the Enterprise and the whole interaction between them and stuff, and then getting to this weird planet. And then the third one is killing God. Which would be probably a full episode, I guess. But
it's very by any other name, the original series episode, but instead of going out of the galaxy, they are going further into it because again, the Enterprise gets hijacked. Someone seriously needs to do something.
have they not put like what are the
disc
steering
lock.
wheel locks that you can
disc
get? Yeah,
lock
disc
on the
lock.
helm. Yeah, just to stop people. Just put an RFID
A
pouch
club.
in the keys.
Put a club on the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got a big wheel. Put a club on it. But
Oh no, they put a sticky sheet of plastic over the screens. Nothing to work now.
oh, the bastards! It's a manual.
Oh no.
The it's a stick shift. But the whole Uhura dance. What follows is one of my greatest lines in the movie, and it's just so off the cuff where you just see all these horses ride into Paradise City, and all you hear is just like Spock, yes, Captain. Be one with the horse. Yes, Captain. That just fucking absolutely fucking kills me every time because it didn't need to be there. They deliberately put it in there.
Yeah, because it's overdubbed. Like it's not actually
Yeah.
filmed on the thing. It's like they must have deliberately put it in.
Or when
there.
he says, when they get there and he's like, Spark, and he's just like, hold your horses, Captain. I'm just like, he's done a pun. The green-blooded Vulcan made a pun. But yeah, the fight that ensues, what really pisses me off, and I picked it up at a very early age.
We have skipped over so much here.
No, have we? No, we haven't.
Yeah, have we done a quick synopsis?
Yes.
Synoizes of the movie?
Yes,
we tried, but then we just didn't. So it's but no.
We did. I read it all out.
No, but yeah, so what we've got is from the last bit we were talking about where they all get recalled back to the Enterprise. It's broken. No other ships are available. They get sent to Nimbus 3 in order to stop this weird cult insurrection that's happened where it's taken over captured the 3 leaders of it who are being held hostage. They get a video from the leader of this cult that Spock recognizes and then decides to not tell anyone, which seems very convenient for the plot. It actually has a brilliant scene where it's literally got Spock on the bridge being like, and Kirk's like, do you know this person? He's like, possibly. And then it immediately cuts to Spock broodingly in his room in the dark, staring out the window. And then the other two basically come in and just walk in and be like, is this about that man? And it's just weird, the whole scene of just going, did he just leave the bridge immediately? Just to go and brood in his room in the dark. And they just went, we'll wait till the end of our shift before we actually go and check on Spock.
It's very dramatic.
But then he
Vulcan.
reveals.
Yeah.
But then
we'll wait till it's narratively convenient or well rhythmed.
But they get to the planet and then they're basically trying to retake the planet. But what they do is Chekhov pretends to be the captain of the Enterprise. Locks Cybok on a phone conversation where they're talking about terms for the release of the hostages. And while that's happening, the rest of them, including Uhura, do a stealth mission with a whole team in like a shuttle pod in order to... is it a shuttle pod or a runabout?
Shuttlecraft.
No.
It's a shuttlecraft.
There we go. And they go down to the planet and Uhura does a dance to trick the guards to basically... let down their guard effectively, and then they steal their horses, ride into the compound where everyone's being kept hostage. The game is revealed to Cybok, and Cybok goes, "Lo, you fool! You know, this was not the way it was supposed to play out." And then we get a scene where Kirk beats up a woman, which is great. Beats up a cat woman.
I have so many issues with this scene, purely because
the cat stripper over the head into the scene.
Associates and Ferren, the sound effect that they use to simulate a feline alien is James Brown going, "Wow, I feel good." They literally just repeat.
You nailed that.
Yeah, they literally just repeat the "Wow" again and again and again until he throws her into the pool table and she dies because cat equals water, death.
Is that the cat equivalent of the Wilhelm scream then?
Yes.
They just repeat it over.
I would say so, but
it's also in this movie.
Yeah. Every Trek
in
movie
this scene,
has it, I'm pretty sure. Every Star Wars movie has it somewhere.
Well,
in fact, it happened in the scene just before this, actually.
Yeah.
Immediately preceding this.
Because it's ILM. It's like an ILM trait. That everything that ILM does, they have to have the Wilhelm scream. So any Steven Spielberg, George Lucas movie, Wilhelm. And I was reading earlier on about slight tangent, but 1989 was a chocker year for movies, and this had, even if everything went right for this film, it had some stiff competition because in 1989 you had the Tim Burton Batman film. Lethal Weapon 2, Ghostbusters 2, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and a few others. I mean, that alone, that is a lot of competition to go up against, especially like Indiana Jones.
When was Jurassic Park? 91?
93.
93?
Yeah, it's quite a while.
But it's crazy though, because obviously the people this movie did not make as much money as the previous one, because the previous movie was the most financially successful of the movies, wasn't it? It was it made more money than Wrath of Khan, I think.
But
it wasn't as well received.
It grossed $17 million and ultimately earned $52 million in the US and then $17 million overseas.
Whereas 5 only made about 38 million.
No. Sorry, Star Trek 4 was 109 million. Star Trek 5 was 52.
Right, yeah.
So...
But it cost 33 million to do, so it's technically a flop, you know? So it's kind of like, oh, well.
Yeah. But it's the scene... I very much agree with you, Synoiz, about the scene with the three ambassadors where Kirk has defeated the Thundercat, as we'll call them, and
Chitara.
Defeats Chitara.
Drowned Chitara.
Drowns Chitara.
I also love that, because I hadn't seen this film before watching it for this, because I just totally bypassed it. It's the fact of I didn't know where the cat people that obviously Lower Decks brings in. I was like, where the hell do these come from? These don't exist in Star Trek. And then it's like, and then it's like Star Trek 4 and 5, and you're like, okay, I guess there are cat people.
The beta canon, and then also in the original animated series, they are featured heavily, and they are like they were an enemy of the Federation as well.
Cat people. Yeah.
If only we'd carried water.
The Federation are dog people. Yeah, the Federation are dog people, so we naturally don't like the cat people. But yeah, like
people. Are you talking about Middlesbrough? Anyway.
No, that's just feral. We would have benefited from a scene with Sybok and the three ambassadors. I would have loved to have seen how he convinced a Romulan and a Klingon, General Kurd. Is it Kurd? Cord. And then obviously David Warner, because David Warner's just like, come with me or you'll be a Klingon in the next film. So he's just like, would you mind handing over your weapons? Because obviously the British ambassador does not hold a gun. He just asks for them politely, as the British way is.
But it is a nice twist, okay? So basically, Kirk and everyone, they've stealthily like ninja'd into the planet. They've done it. The operation has gone perfectly. And then it turns out that actually it's a trap and that the hostages have got Stockholm Syndrome. They've basically turned over to Sybok's side. Yeah. And we don't see how this happens. We know how it happens, but it just feels like a missed trick that it doesn't explain better. Like,
do you think
these three ambassadors just don't get fleshed out at all, and it's really disappointing because they have their opening scene that we see them in. The Romulan one looks really good, the Klingon one looks really interesting, and the Terran one, and then they just get forgotten about from this point on, except for the Klingon.
It's an easy paycheck for David Warner.
Yeah,
it is an easy paycheck. But do you think that Sybok's ability relies heavily on Vulcan telepathy to emotionally block the pain?
Potentially, but we don't know. That it's a missed trick, like, because we have a wonderful scene where where Spock is explaining the relationship with Sybok, where he basically totally rejected the Vulcan way of logic of suppressing emotion, and he went, hey, we should be like our ancestors were, where they fully embrace their emotion and they live sort of like true authentic lives. But obviously we know that ended in absolute chaos on Vulcan. And then, but basically that's the background to Sybok. So we assume that he's developed his Vulcan telepathy so that he can bring out people's suppressed emotions or something and help them deal with them and whatnot. But it doesn't get explained.
Sorry, I just there was a comment from a Marquet Cartier. David Warner famously knows how hard it is to act sweaty. But
somebody said he phoned it in. It was an easy paycheck, and I was like, no, it's really hard to act sweaty.
Well, Prince Andrew can't do it, can he?
But, no, he's just good at nonsense. Yeah, he's just good at nonsense.
I did quite like the joke we got from someone earlier, which is what is it? At least he didn't lose his head in this movie, like in The Omen, which is
I bet he
terrible gag, but I like it.
He then did Quest for the Delta Knights, so I bet he wished he lost his head. So like after Kirk is obviously taken by the ambassadors, the shuttlecraft is taken that Uhura landed in the center of Paradise City, and then we see the first conversation between Sybok and Spock. But we still don't know. Like we know
Sybok calls them brother.
Yeah. Yeah, but we don't know because he might call him brother as in, you know, a fellow Vulcan, like Kirk alludes to later on. And Spock just being Spock, he's just like, you are under arrest for 17 neutral zone violations. And it's just, it's Spock being Spock. They take the shuttlecraft and they are heading up to the Enterprise. All the while, the Klingon bird of prey is speeding towards them after blowing up Voyager. Not that Voyager, the other Voyager, but not that Voyager from Star Trek 1, another Voyager, but not the Voyager that you're thinking of with the murderer Janeway.
That Voyager.
That Voyager, yeah. The one that cloned the other
Murderer.
Yeah. There's coffee in that nebula.
That's it. Time for genocide.
Yes. Not even a smoker. Shut up, Chakotay. The... Delete the wife.
Oh, Tuvix was genocide. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, what do we know? It's one of these things where, like, we point out the whole, like, doesn't the amount of Borg that she manages to kill, like, over the course of it and stuff, it's like going, okay, that's a lot of death over the course of Voyager for her.
She got back. I mean, I don't think she was that eager to get back to Earth because she would have had a lovely email from The Hague in her inbox, just waiting. It's like,
By the way,
have a word. Yeah. No, we'll go through this nebula. Add an extra 70 years. Yeah.
you better promote me. Do you see what I did to an innocent hybrid?
I kept an ensign for 7 years.
With my pet. Can
Yeah.
you imagine Mirror Universe Janeway, where she's actually kind? But anyways.
Oh God. Oh my God.
I'm only saying that because we don't have Baron on this week. But
Baron, by the way, last week, who like gave themselves like 17 field promotions. He had like 20 pips on the neck.
you know when you don't want to seem like an idiot, but I was like, what? How many pips is this? Are you beyond
Yes.
Admiral? Are you God? Is that like the... You know, you just like, what rank is above Admiral? Because I was
What
like,
does
I've
God
never seen that
need?
many pips.
What does God need with a pip? But yeah, so like they are heading towards the Enterprise, and this bird of prey suddenly cloaks and is heading for their attack run. And I love this whole improvisation from Kirk, where Chekhov's like, "No, you must turn back and find a safe harbor on the planet," and Cyber's like, "No, we must continue. We need to go." And Kirk's just like, "Well, just let me do something." And he's like, in order to get onto the Enterprise safely and to raise the shields, it'll take like 50. And Spock's like 15.3 seconds. He's like, an eternity. And I love the fact that Kirk's just like, prepare to execute
Implement emergency landing plan B.
Yeah, and on the
just
ship they're like, "What is that?" They're like,
What is emergency landing plan B?
over the intercom. So Cyborg must be sat there going, I don't think he knows what he's doing. But it's just like B as in barricade. I love Sulu in this, where like they go, is it Cyborg that says it? Like, how many times have you done this? And he's like, actually, it's my first attempt.
And this is one thing I want to mention, though, is because this movie was directed by William Shatner.
Yes.
It was the movie that William Shatner got to direct, and
After the
think I
success
read-
of Star Trek 4, it was a contractual clause.
yeah,
The
because
next
didn't he
movie.
not get enough money for 4 or something?
Oh, let me get.
I am sure there was something where he was like, I didn't get paid properly for 4, so in exchange, I get to direct the next movie or something. But the issue was that, like, obviously George Takei hated like Shatner, so he like nearly didn't sign on because like he's like, oh God, Shatner's directing. But then he eventually did, and then he only seems to have kind things to say, which I think is great. Like the idea of not liking someone but being able to appreciate when they do good work, because all of the crew apparently really loved working on this film and like really enjoyed Shatner directing them because he knew what he was doing, bizarrely.
So William Shatner made a deal with Paramount that if Star Trek 4 was successful, he would be contracted to direct the next film. Although, according to Star Trek Movie Memories in 1995, both William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy had what Shatner referred to as the favoured nation clauses in their contracts, meaning essentially that What one got, the other one got. According to Shatner, it was Nimoy.
That's very common.
Yeah, it was Nimoy who put the idea of directing Star Trek V in his head during the production of Star Trek IV, telling Shatner that because of their favoured nation status, he could successfully demand to direct the next film.
That's crazy.
Mm.
But this is the thing, because I wondered why Leonard Nimoy didn't direct this film, because he'd done so well with the previous ones. And then it was because he was doing loads of other stuff. Like, his film directing career had like really kicked off at this point. It's like, good for him, but also, fuck you. Fuck you for leaving Star Trek. Well, fuck you for only being an actor in the next one. But no, I think Shatner does a great job. I think the problems with this film are the special effects, the editing.
There's a lot of schedule and budget related issues. Yeah.
It's like the story. The story I think has loads of plot holes and stuff like that, but I think mainly that's probably editing. Like, maybe they exist. Maybe all of the problems that we're talking about actually had scenes that got cut out or something.
Well, in the following scene where the shuttlecraft smashes into the shuttle bay, there's a fight, an altercation between Bach and Kirk, and the way it plays out in the movie, when you watch it, like with a really sort of critical eye, you can tell that clearly something is going on where they were running out of time, because the beats that get missed and the sort of the leaps that bring us from that moment to the next are they are there, but they're skipped over in order to just wrap the day, is what it felt like.
However, we then get another dilemma for Spock when obviously Cybok's got Kirk in a chokehold, and like he's like, pick it up, and Spock picks up the gun. And then we just see Cybok so confidently walking towards Spock, just like, you're not going to shoot me. And the barrel just gets buried in his chest, and we just get Kirk just sitting there going, shoot him! And he just doesn't. And I love the bit, like, when he like takes the gun away from him and they get thrown into the brig, and you get that comedic value where Kirk's just like, I ought to knock you in your goddamn ass. I gave you an order. And he's just like, but, Captain, he's my brother.
You ordered me to kill my brother.
I know the man's a fellow Vulcan. No, you misunderstand.
No, he's my brother.
He's my brother. He's
that
not
can't be true, because I happen to know for a fact that you don't have a brother.
That's correct. See? He's my half-brother. And he just, like, sits down on the toilet.
He sits on the toilet. If you look at the scene, they're in a brig. If you read the little signs on the wall, it's a toilet and a sink, and the toilet comes out of the wall, and he sits on it. And there's a little sign that says, do not use in space dock.
One thing I want to mention before we move off the scene is, like, the bizarre thing is this planet has these guns that fire pellets. And what I find really fascinating is this the only time that we actually see how the Federation deals with non-laser weapons effectively? Because what happens is when they're actually doing the siege, the Starfleet people, actually the Federation troops, actually have shields and whatnot, and we've never seen these ever used because we're so used to phasers and disruptors and stuff. And yet we're like, no, they're actually firing with like basic projectiles, so they would actually not instantly die from, like, because obviously a shield against a disruptor would probably still kill you, I guess, but by association. But
what puzzled me was with that, it's like the troops that they beamed down, they didn't have any like bulletproof wear or like penetrative proof wear like you see in Star Trek 3 and stuff like that, where they've got like the heavy armor and the helmets. They were just like, no, we'll just go down in our best jumpers, we'll make a day.
It's the stealth.
Christmas house outfits.
Yeah, and it's just like, that these have got pellet guns, and although they are not bullets, they can still kill you. And they just go down in their best jumpers for Christmas, and just bring riot shields. And it's just very, I think there could have been a more Star Trek way of dealing with it.
But I quite like this, because it is effectively going, hey, this is a different kind of fight being waged, rather than what we're used to, which is like, both sides have either phasers or disruptors, so blah, blah, blah. This is literally like, how do we deal with people with very primitive weapons? Oh, well, we've got this, and this. But obviously, like you say, they just didn't bring armor, and I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say it's because they were meant to be on a stealth mission, so sneaking around wearing like plate mail or something wouldn't have worked. But
yeah, potentially. We then see obviously, again though, what I would have loved to see when Cyborg goes to the bridge and like sees Chekhov. I want to see Chekhov's pain. I want to see Sulu's pain. I want to see Uhura's pain. I
just want one of them to be a really shit pain. Like, it's literally like Chekhov's pain was that he didn't get bought, like, Princess Barbie when he was a child. He got Malibu Barbie instead. And that's why he became Russian.
Yeah. You would too if you got Malibu Barbie.
That's it. They had to go. Tell me, Chad, if you know what that's a reference to.
He was English, and then the Malibu Barbie came.
What's wrong with Malibu?
Like, duh.
Exactly.
But
he wasn't Malibu Barbie. He was Princess Barbie.
But when again, another favourite, possibly one of my most favourite scenes in Star Trek, when Scotty does the prison break, where the Kirk, Spock, and McCoy trying to break out, and
I know this ship like the back of my hand. Oh wait, are you talking about when he's like, don't you know a prison break when you see one?
Yeah, and he's like tapping Morse code on the brig, and he's like, "What are you waiting for?"
Stand back.
No, it's really funny. It's literally it's a brilliant scene, but it's basically they just hear this weird tapping. They're like, "Oh, what's that?" And then they go, "Oh, it's in Morse code. What does it translate to?" And then they translate it, and then like stand back. What is? Oh, and then the wall explodes, and it's just Scotty standing there in the hole, being like,
"But again,
right? A prison break when you see one."
But again, right? Does Cyborg have no one guarding them, and does the ship just not go, "Hey guys, there's a hole in me"? Like, does no one? There needs to be it's very frustrating. I mean, it's funny, and then the escape, and it's the fact that he's just like, "Wait, Scotty, where do we need to go to get to the bridge?" "Oh, you go up there because the turbo lifts aren't working. You go up there and do this." And he's like, "Thanks, Scotty." He's like, "I know this shit like the back of my hand." And just immediately gets knocked the fuck out. That, I saw that so many times as a kid.
This ship like the back of my hand.
I laughed so hard every time I saw that because it was the noise. It was the bonk.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant noise.
Once you accept, like I said, I found the first scene with Spock and the jet boots, I found that very uncomfortable because I was like, oh, why is everyone being so silly? But once I got over that and kind of went, I guess this is how they are in this film, I really enjoyed it because I just went, okay, cool, that's how it plays out. That's what the characters are like. And they're these hilarious, goofy versions of these characters we've always loved. And all of the jokes land. Like it's not like the first one where the jokes are good, but none of them land. Like, all of McCoy's stuff just feels like it's being said into a void, and you're like, why didn't that land? Like, this one, everything is gold, and it's so good.
Mark, how many decks does this goddamn ship have? Because when they are going up that elevator
36,
shaft,
I think.
But when they're going up the elevator shaft on the rocket boots,
anytime they have turbo lift shenanigans, I'm always sort of just...
I love though, like they get to the turbo shaft, and I don't know why I did that with my fingers, but when they get to the turbo shaft and they're climbing, and Spock just
Did you do this? Turbo shaft?
I did this.
Oh.
I know I should do this, but,
Not saying anything.
But, well, shaft. This
is the shaft.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oil the shaft.
Shaft? Damn right. I love, though, that Spock sees McCoy and Kirk climbing, watches them, and then just... Yeah, okay. That's the interlude. Watches them climbing and then just walks out. Doesn't say a word and just walks out. And I've said this on another podcast where, right, Spock has these rocket boots. I'm assuming that these rocket boots are in his quarters. Now, this brig is at the bottom of the ship. Meaning...
I see where you're going with this.
Meaning... Kirk and McCoy are climbing up, say, like, So they're there.
Maybe they were in the brig.
Yeah, there. So they have to go right up the center of the ship to the saucer, right? They're climbing. Spock
We're
went
such
from the
nerds.
bottom of the ship, through the dorsal spar, into the saucer section, into his quarters, got his rocket boots, then went back through the saucer section, down the dorsal spar, into the engineering hull, to the bottom, or near enough to the bottom, pried open a door, and then entered the scene above where they were. Why did not one of them go, how the fuck did you get to your quarters so fast, and why didn't we follow you?
I think essentially there's two possible reasons. Is A, he already had them on, and that he's just been wearing them the whole time. And he's just randomly been wearing rocket boots. And we could have had a wonderful scene with Cybok or one of the cultists and Spock, just as they're putting him in the brig, they're just like, nice boots. And he's like, thank you.
If shoe fits, wear it. I am.
But or they're just around the ship. Like, because we don't know where these are never mentioned before, but maybe they have, like, in case of turbo lift, break glass, rocket boots or something.
Yeah, maybe there's like a storage locker down the hall.
And he's clever enough to go, oh, let's pop in there while we're walking past and grab something.
Yeah, it's very presumptuous of you, Goodwill, to get all worked up about him having to go to his quarters.
Oh, look, I'm coming in here with logic. Screw you both. Let's talk about...
Logic would have led you to a supply locker.
Get a haircut.
What we learn in this movie effectively is the main plot of this movie is who would win in a fight, logic or God, and we get an answer to that, which is quite interesting. but we'll get to that.
Atheism versus God, the movie.
Yeah, it is literally logic versus theism.
But I mean, it's really annoying because like Kirk gets on one side of Spock and then McCoy gets on the other, and they start to fall. And Kirk's like, oh no, and McCoy's just like, must be all those marshmallows. But then suddenly they remember they've got a rocket boost function, like an afterburner on these shoes, and they fly up this turbo shaft, right? Like 20 odd decks this thing has, but in Star Trek 5, it's got like 70, 80,
65,
90.
I think, is what it says at the top, and you're like, that's a lot of decks.
That's a big shaft.
Oh,
okay.
Is Lee still in the chat? Speaking of which,
that is my, that is a big shaft. But they are captured. Don't you shake your head at me. They are captured, and I love the scene where they get to face their pain. I'm sad that we didn't get to see the rest of the crew's pain, but we get to see the three key characters' pain, and. Well, we don't see three, we only see two, which again is like very frustrating for me because I want to see... Kirk cannot still be infallible after the first 4 movies. We need to see that extra layer of vulnerability to Kirk. What is his pain? Is it dying alone? Is it, is it something traumatic that happened in his past? Is it the fact he wrecked a Corvette, which started Star Trek 9?
I think it would... No, I genuinely think it would be Spock dying. I genuinely think it would be the end of Wrath of Khan, because that, like we said when we reviewed that episode, it's such a key moment for Kirk.
Breaks him.
It's like the adventure is over effectively, like everything is serious now.
Yeah, it breaks him. The extra layer that what I really loved, and I love McCoy. I absolutely love McCoy because McCoy is just that quintessential country doctor, shitty bedside manner, doesn't give a fuck, but gets the job done. And we just see in this scene his ultimate vulnerability, which is losing his father. And then not long after, there was a cure for what was ailing his father, and his father could have survived. And that is a heartbreaking thing to have for a character.
See, they did it before the fucking mist. But...
yeah, but it is heartbreaking because we don't see this side of McCoy. In all of Star Trek, we don't see this side of McCoy, and we see him break. And with Spock, though, I kind of didn't like it.
Well, it just Spock's trauma is being born.
Yeah,
which
being born
seems a pretty deep one, effectively. Like, it's not something that's happened to him. It's just because he was there, but probably not in presence.
Is this the first indication that Spock is a goth?
Oh
Is
my
it
God,
God?
Mom. You don't understand me, Dad. I do quite like, though,
Just
that we
wears
have a young
eyeliner.
Sarek who effectively just goes, "This one's shit." You know,
Yeah, it's the
move
way
it
he
away.
says it. He's just like, so human. And it's like, your wife is there. Like, read the cave. Your wife is there and has just pushed out your son, and you just go, so human. Like, come on. You utter dick.
I think,
And he
but
is a
to be
dick.
fair, though, at least, like, unlike the rest of us, Spock learned very, very, very early that Sarek was a twat. Which, you know, it takes us a bit of time to learn this, but
Poor Sarek, but you know, he did dip his wick into a Vulcan princess. So, we think that Kirk's pain would have been the death of Spock. Is that what we're thinking?
I don't know.
Moment
No,
of
I think
silence.
that it will be death being the end of
Or
the
his son.
adventure.
Or his son.
Well, he survived his son.
No.
Yeah, death means
No.
he's got to hang out with David again. Oh,
Oh,
Yeah, he's like, I must live. So,
He's-
yeah, he's
got
got
a
to spend the
perm.
weekends with
Oh.
David.
thank God
Why
it
is
wasn't Spock that got killed.
I would love it in the Wrath of Khan if like he saw David and then he just went to Carolina and went, "Why did you give my son a perm?" The
Oh, it was the 80s. Come on.
No, don't get me fucking started on this. Like, I know everyone loves the Monster Maroon, okay? The costumes in this movie are horrible. I hate so much of it. Like, the top half is amazing, but the feet, the legs with the little flares, and I'm
what
just
have you got against bell bottoms?
it's awful. It's
There, right there.
genuinely.
What have you got against that? Look at that silhouette. It's perfect.
What do I have for it? That is the easier question to answer.
You have no
Nothing.
style. That's what you
It's-
don't have.
It's awful. I hate that silhouette. And it is just but it's one of these things, like, throughout all the movies, I think the costumes are terrible. Like, the Monster Maroon is good, but I think there's so many bits where you're like the Vulcan helmets in the last one, it's absolutely hideous.
What are you doing?
An episode.
Are you trying to do like a next gen camera shake that like the apartment's being hit? Oh my god! Oh no! Oh. It's not working. The dramatic effect is not.
California earthquake.
Oh wow!
But it is, but I'm just not, and I can't believe that they won an award for the costumes in one of the films, in the fourth one, I think it was.
Because they have
In the fourth one?
Was it the
No.
third one that they won the award for costumes in?
costuming.
Yeah, didn't you say one of the awards it won was actually for costuming? And I
No,
was
that
just like,
was no. That the award was for the Wrath of Khan.
yeah.
It was the Wrath of Khan that won the awards because it was yeah. I mean, it was nominated for, I believe, an Academy Award as well. Wrath of Khan. So we don't get to see Kirk's pain. We do see that they are on their way to the galactic barrier. Not that galactic barrier, the other galactic
The Great
barrier.
Barrier
Oh, the
at the
other
center
one.
of the
Barrier.
galaxy.
Yeah, the Great Barrier, which this broken ship can penetrate easily, apparently. And then they get
No starship that's ever tried to breach the barrier has returned.
But we have, and a bird of prey does later on. The
Wait,
No
I think
probe has ever.
No
No
well,
probe
has
has
ever
ever
returned.
survived. No starship has ever returned.
yeah,
what we get before that, though, is we get it where we get to see the Spock and McCoy's pain and whatnot, and then we see McCoy.
I
kind of
forget what
turn-
McCoy's pain was.
his father.
his father.
Yeah, but it's but with we get to see their pain, and we see McCoy turn over to Cybok. We see it work on him, where he suddenly kind of goes, "Actually, Cybok's not that bad. We should do what he says," kind of thing. Like the rest
Yeah.
of the crew, because we've already had Sulu, Uhura, like Chekhov, already sort of turning sides effectively. And we realize that this isn't natural. This is some kind of ability that Cybok has, like psychically, to turn people to his side by basically becoming their best mate, by like shifting a massive weight off their shoulders by making
Being a
them face
therapist.
this dark fear. Yeah, he's like a sort of psychic therapist
Yeah.
that makes them immediately go, wow, this guy's good. He actually has like, good intentions. Let's follow him in an extreme way, which is kind of cool, but it kind of immediately stops Cyborg being a villain. Cyborg has like one scene in this film where he's the villain, and then he just becomes this nice character. And it's a bit weird because you're a bit like, isn't he the antagonist? Because everyone's acting to him like he's an antagonist, but he doesn't do anything bad throughout the whole film.
The antagonist of this movie is fear itself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
guess
think
so, yeah.
I don't
pain
think
itself.
I don't think in any way, shape, or form Cyborg is the antagonist of this film. I think he is.
But it feels he feels painted to be that.
Are
and then he
too
just isn't.
afraid of dying. I always knew I'd die alone. So they're trying to set up the fact that when he's alone on the planet, that he would actually be like that. He might actually die at the end of this movie, but it didn't play.
Yeah, it's like when they get through the Great Barrier,
when they breach the barrier,
Ooh,
well, the whole point. Hold on. What we've had is Cyborg's taken over the ship, and his whole plan is to get to the center of the universe, and because he believes that he has found what's it called, Shakari, which is basically the
Eden.
Vulcan version of heaven, and it's
Eden.
heaven in every. It's heaven or Eden or whatnot.
It's the cradle of all creation. So there's Shakari, Eden, Volta-Vor for the Romulans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's basically, and obviously Spock is just like, oh, that's just a myth. And then Cyborg's like, no, I've genuinely found it. So he's hijacked the ship in order to take it there because he knows what to do. But it turns out that it's beyond the Great Barrier that no one's ever seemingly attempted to get through because it appears to be an illusion. So they basically get through the barrier just by flying through it. Like, the special effects are crap, obviously, because we didn't have industrial light and magic. But it doesn't actually... I took it, when I watched it, I took it as actually there is no barrier, it's all an illusion in order to keep people away, and that people can just go straight through it without problem. And yeah, but then the way they act about it is that actually, no, it's a big difficulty and we barely got through, like in, the original series episode. It's weird.
Well, no, because that was the Galactic Edge.
No, but you know how they act there, where they're like, wow, we barely got through that. Like, everything's on fire, crazy, we couldn't do that again.
Yeah.
But they act like that's the case in this one. But you're like, nope, didn't seem to cause any problems.
When they find the planet, and they obviously take a shuttle because the transporters, still foreshadowing, are not working, and they get to the planet, this is where the movie is... for me, is very rushed, and this could have done with this could have done with fleshing out a hell of a lot more in terms of they get to the planet. It ideally looks like Southern California, strangely, but they get to the planet, and they are looking for God. They're quite, they are searching for God. What gets me? We needed more. For me, I needed more detail on how Cyborg knew. Where did he get his information from? Was he being called to the planet? Yeah, was he being called to the planet telepathically? Was there
like Spock was, which would be an amazing comparison, being like, hey, look, they're brothers, and they've both been summoned by something across the galaxy, even though it's not possible in the lore. But
was it, was it like
in the motion picture? Spock was called.
That would be an amazing thing, and they just don't go there.
They don't do anything with it, and then when they're walking around for a while, and they think that there's nothing here, so the crew are just like, they flip the communicator, and Spock goes to Cyborg. Yeah, very, very flight, like, welcome to the flight. But when Spock's trying to, like, convince Cyborg, look, there is nothing here, and then obviously the lights go dim, and the Stonehenge suddenly starts to appear out of there, and we realise it's the south of England, the M1 is right there, and Theresa May is like,
You can hear the poverty.
You can hear the poverty. There's Rishi Sunak going national service, but the
It's almost like the
Don't
Tories
get
are
any
making
of
us
these
vote
British
for Labour.
references.
But
he just wants all of our children to fight in the army.
yeah, he basically the
Oh,
Prime
so do
Minister.
I.
The
I
Prime
want all your
Minister-
children to fight in the army.
That's it. Oh, you Americans.
Good. It means the online games will be quiet.
But who will I get to call gay on
Goodwill,
Counter-Strike?
I've been waiting all episode for you to open up your shirt and reveal that you're wearing a Go Climb a Rock t-shirt.
I am not, because I am poor and I couldn't get one in time.
I'm
So-
poor.
I am poor. I'm poor.
I am
I'm
Arnie.
poor. I am destitute. What I have underneath here is something similar to God and something similar to Go Climb a Rock. Dropkick Murphys. So,
Nick Murphy.
yeah,
Very similar.
the Irish in me just needed that. When Stonehenge appears, and then we finally get the reveal of this blue plasma, and then we see
genuinely
God. We see God. Go on. No, go on. Explain.
No.
Okay.
This is. You know
Why are we
when you
talking
just go
high?
like, it just basically there he is at the picture at the bottom. But basically, the Stonehenge appears. They go into this cave thing, and a massive face that shows a booming voice, and it shows all these different deities throughout like different cultures or whatever appear, and then it finally settles on the typical old big bearded white hair god figure that we basically have in our minds. And he goes, this face will be comfortable for you and whatnot. And I think the big problem with this is it doesn't at any point seem to disprove that this is actually God. Like,
Yeah.
you have like McCoy and Kirk being like, oh, why would a God do this or whatever? But there's not an actual.
Why is God angry?
Yeah, but it's just that idea of just being like, they don't actually say anything or prove anything. So what I took away from this film is this possibly is God, and they just kill him. And I'm just like, this is a bold plot to propose in a film. Where it's
You
just like,
raise
okay,
a
cool.
really good point. You do raise a really good point,
No,
because, like I said,
what is he? Is he an alien? Is
Yeah.
he something else?
it's
No,
rushed.
I
It
think
is
he's
so.
God. You know,
it
it's
is
very
so-
strange.
It is so rushed, where this deserved an extra half an hour, where they're just like, all right, you may not be God.
Yeah. It's an
But did
alien
you call-
masquerading as
Yeah.
God to trick us. It doesn't
But
say
did you
that.
call-
It
did
doesn't
you-
suggest anything.
Are you
did you call-
saying, Goodwill, that you wish they had turned this into a dinner scene, like a dinner party scene with like dinner with God?
Dinner
Kind
with
of a
God,
thing.
Kirk
Well.
eating blue squid. Yeah. But it's like we needed more exposition as to did this alien trick Cyborg? Did this alien find a telepathically vulnerable Vulcan and then was like, I am going
And
to
take advantage of
take
him?
advantage of him and lull him there? Was he
The-
lured there? Or did Cyborg get some information that, hey, beyond the Great Barrier, there is this planet, and this is the center, and this is the Eden. This is where all creation was expelled from. They could have imagine, right? And I was going to say this for Second Contact. Like, should there be a second contact? Imagine if they tied this into the progenitors, or somewhere where they were like, hey, this is where the progenitors originated from. This is where life as we knew it originated from.
If they did it and tied it into the progenitors the same way that we have the prophets and the par wraiths, where you basically went, hey, the prophets trapped the par wraiths in physical objects in the world in order to sort of keep them away from the temple. And that's why we have, when the tablet gets destroyed, one of them gets released and it leads on to the, what's it called? The reckoning or whatnot.
Yeah.
If they kind of said, hey, one of the progenitors got captured because he was so bad and they trapped him on this planet, and over time he's evolved into a non-physical being, but he still can't leave the planet, cool. All it would have taken is 5 more minutes. I mean, I think the opening scene of this film, rather than the desert scene, the western scene with the horse and like Cybok and the guy, it probably should have been like Cybok, but like, you know, hooded so you can't see him, meditating, and then suddenly getting a vision of going, I'm being summoned, and then hearing a voice or something
should
saying
have
come to
been-
me or something.
It should have been an Astra, whatever, projected reflection of Cybok's psyche.
I propose this, gentlemen. I propose in season 3 of Strange New Worlds, Cybok will return, and we will see this mysterious being from the Great Barrier speaking to Cybok.
If Lower Decks doesn't get there first, because Lower Decks must be like, hang on, bring Cybok in.
No, we've seen Cybok.
We haven't done it yet.
We've seen Cybok
yeah.
in Strange New Worlds. We have
Yeah.
seen him. So I think if they're going to be bold and do that, I think we need to see that. We need to see something from Cybok. Just
It would be really good, but it's just this whole scene. So obviously, I'll let you describe it better. But it's effectively this creature, this floating head appears, talks to them, and basically gives the impression that it's God. Everyone kind of just accepts that it's God. But then it starts demanding to be released. It starts being like, how did you get through the barrier? You used a starship, did you? Cool. Bring that starship to me, and then I will use it to leave the planet. And Cybok's like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'll totally do that. And then, obviously, we get the very famous line from Kirk, Mark.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. What does God need with a starship?
What I love about this. It's not just Kirk; it's McCoy through this scene where he's just going, "Jim, what are you doing?" He's like, "I'm asking a question," and he's just like,
I'm asking a question.
But when
McCoy,
he goes,
who is
like,
a very logical person, is effectively going, yeah, he has just accepted that this is God. He is fully just gone, oh wow, okay, guess God's real, and he's here,
But then when this God goes, "Who is this creature?" and he's like, "Don't you know? Aren't you God?" And then
Aren't
McCoy's
you
just,
God?
yeah. And then McCoy's just like, "Jim, you don't ask the Almighty for his ID." But like Kirk's like immediate like critical thinking and logic just is like, if he's the Almighty, can't he travel anywhere in the universe? Why does he need a starship? Why doesn't he not know who I am? Why is God punishing me? Why is God angry when he gets like singed? Through the monster
basically, as Kirk stands up to God effectively and says, "Hey, we're not going to do this," and God basically laser visions him, fires these bolts out, and knocks him across the room.
And then Kirk's got the burn mark on his little jumper suit, his little Christmas house outfit shirt for the rest of the movie.
I want to see
that's it.
Burnham take
and then
on
they all seem quite like, oh my God, how could God be angry? And I'm like, have you read the Old Testament?
Yeah.
How?
You're just going like, the fact that you caught God in a good mood is the unlikely bit about this scene. Like the fact that he starts the conversation civil is the non-biblical aspect of this.
Let's be honest, God is bipolar, at the very least. Okay, so
I love humans, actually.
Yeah, get out! But it's and we see the immediate turn, but the scene just feels rushed, and then we see Cybok like having this absolute crisis of faith, where he's realizing he's been misled and he's dragged these people along, and people have died for this enterprise, and he's immediately apologetic, and he's like, "Why have you hurt my friends? Why would God do this?" And all the while, this creature's just like, "The ship, bring it. I must merge with it." And he's getting very sexual over the Enterprise, and it's kind of disturbing. But Cybok turns from villain in the loosest term to the hero, where he does essentially try and save the Enterprise and the crew, and he's just like, "I can see
You guys
your pain.
get out of here. I'll distract God."
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I can see
I'll
your
distract
pain.
God.
I can see your pain. Tell me about it," and just hugs God.
Yeah. Tell me about your pain. Right. I forgot that.
Yeah. And
He pulls out his own material. I love it. Oh God. See, I told you, this movie is just one gem after another. It's just, you keep lifting the stones and there's magical bugs under there.
but then we just
What
see
kind of bugs? Are they silverfish?
yes.
Silverfish, magic silverfish.
Well, let me just do a slight tangent here, okay? Because I found some interesting information. So
I'm sorry, Goodwill.
before silverfish reproduce, they carry out a ritual including three phases, which
I've
may
read this.
last over half an hour. In the first phase, the male and female stand face to face, their vibrating antennae touching, then repeatedly back off and return to this position. In the second phase, the male runs away and the female chases him. In the third phase, the male and female stand side by side and head to tail, with the male vibrating his tail against the female. Then they fuck. It's an interesting Wikipedia article.
So this is
Yeah,
just
I've read that
threshold.
article.
This is just threshold. This is how Paris and Janeway fucked. Is that what you're saying? There's a lot of vibrating
This is how you
antennae.
get salamander babies, basically.
So again, the scene is very rushed. We see
So Cybok dies effectively. The temple collapses. They all the rest of them
Enterprise
escape.
fires on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Enterprise fires it, and then the Bird of Prey appears, and we see the world's worst CGI space battle, where it's just literally one shot, and then the entire Enterprise is crippled from it. This new ship, crippled from one shot.
But admittedly, it's a shot where they don't have their shields up, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we don't tend to see them that much. But it's a very good shot.
I
mean, one thing, okay, because obviously Mark won't get this, so I'll say it while he's away. But it's I think the weirdest thing is we haven't talked about the Klingon ship in this episode, in this film, where we have the actual antagonist that we get, because there isn't one, is effectively a weird Klingon ship that's just following the Enterprise around, because the Klingon commander, I'm just talking about the Klingons, Mark, the Klingon commander has basically decided that if he can kill Kirk, he'll become a legend. So he's just on this vendetta to try and get Kirk. But the weirdest thing about this whole thing is that the Klingon commander is very, very, very much Gary Glitter. I could not actually watch this without just being like, why is it a Klingon Gary Glitter? Just... And
I like his apology
unnerving.
at the end. The attack upon your vessel was not authorized by my government.
But I will say, though, the Klingon ship in this, they go so hard. They go so hard. Like, him and the female
Space
Klingon
Karen.
are great. I think it's Klar, and she's called
Klar.
Vixian or something.
Karen.
Is she called Karen?
He looks like
Karen.
Lenny Kravitz. She's Karen.
Okay.
So
it's
Space Lenny Kravitz and Space Karen.
But they are actually brilliant. They're
pretty good.
They're really authentic Klingons.
They're good Klingons.
The voices, the language they're using and stuff. It's fun, but you're totally useless in this movie.
They're very underused.
Aside from this one shot, which cripples the Enterprise, that doesn't mean anything in the scheme of the film. It's just
because it was basically crippled anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he gets shot, and it's a big dramatic thing, and then they're like, "Oh well, we can still escape fine." And you're like, "Okay, never mind."
When Spock and McCoy beamed aboard because Scotty's managed to take, I can take two of you, convenient plot device, leaving Kirk on the planet.
Yeah.
We see Spock going to the bridge and convincing, because the Klingon commander discusses terms of surrender. Give me Kirk and your lives will be spared. And we just see Spock just being the absolute Chad, where he just goes to General Cord, where he's just like, you are his high-ranking officer. I'm a foolish old man. He's like, damn you, sir, you will try. And I love
that line. I wrote that line down.
That is a good line for Spock, because it's just that amount of emotion that you need from Spock to be so assertive. But
it's because of the journey he's just been on.
Yeah. And it's
the narrative journey. He has confronted his tragic character flaw, which is, the sadness that he carries with him about he's trying so hard to be purely Vulcan instead of accepting who he really is. So human.
It's a wasted scene where we could see the redemption of General Cord, speaking to his Klingon commander.
I am a foolish old man.
Yeah, and you can tell that this is one of the scenes trimmed from the production, because all we get is an ADI, Klingon commander, someone wishes to speak with you. We could have had this powerful scene from General, this alcoholic.
I will wipe your family off of Yeah.
It would have
Yeah.
been fucking brilliant.
It could have been a redemption. It's the idea of he's become like the rest of them on the planet. They've become like fat and lazy and sort of and then it actually has him going, no, actually, I'm proud to be Klingon and I
Yeah.
will do my duty and I will do this. It could have been amazing, but like I say, all three of the ambassadors don't actually get any plot development really.
No.
Anything to do, yeah.
No, nothing to do. And I think in the scheme of things,
No,
I think
he
it
should
would
have gotten into a knife fight with the Klingon captain, killed the Klingon captain. Instead of making him apologize, he should have taken command of the bird of prey.
Yeah, because he did make him a bit of a beta.
Yeah.
He
yes,
did,
a bit of a beta.
a bit of a beta. He did cook the commander.
Yeah, in front of his girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
But when we see Kirk on the planet and like the bird of prey finally finishes off God.
No, hold on. We're not skipping over this. We're not skipping over how silly this is. Where it's literally Kirk climbing up a rock face, because we saw earlier in the film that he likes to climb rocks, so it kind of ties in. You can see how it worked in the script.
Foreshadowing.
But it basically has him climbing rocks away from this huge floating head of God behind him, shittily firing laser bolts at him from its eyes and missing him. And you're like, okay, puny God, to quote the Avengers. But and this whole scene happens, and then Kirk manages to get to the top of the mountain. He gets to the top of the mountain, turns around, God's behind him firing lasers, and then the Klingon bird of prey appears in front of him. Its guns come out. It has a little stop motion bit where its guns come out, and they immediately fire upon God with a machine gun, and God explodes. And you're sitting there just being like, what is this film? The only thing that makes it better, because I wrote down in my notes.
Trek 5.
The only thing that makes it better is I wrote down in my notes, Klingons blow up God. And then crossed it out later because we find out that actually, on the bird of prey, it was Spock operating the guns. It was actually Spock operating the weapons and the machine gun.
The ultimate atheist.
Because he didn't fire earlier and put a stop to the whole thing. He fired now.
The ultimate atheist killed God. That's what we are taking away.
Logic versus God.
God. Yeah,
and it reminds
logic
me of
won.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. My favorite bit from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. What is it? It's like, where man manages to prove God wrong, and God disappears in a puff of logic. For man's next trick, he in fact proved that black is in fact white and got killed on the next zebra crossing, which is just like, makes no sense at all. But it stuck with me from being a child.
It makes so much sense. It makes the best sense.
But
basically, Spock kills God, and that's just a thing that happens in this movie.
But I mean, again, it ties back to what you said, that there is no genuine peril in this film. And we see that Kirk is literally facing a fucking ship, and he's like, "So this is who you want, you Klingon bastards," and there is still no peril because he's just beamed away, and he's like taken aboard the ship, and then that's it. It's just like the attack on my people, and I apologize. Very Scooby Doo. I don't know why I've gone Scooby Doo.
This is the Klingon ambassador talking to Kirk, isn't it?
Yeah. The Klingon commander, because he's like, I apologize. Shaky. But then we see like the new gunner, which is just Spock, and then Kirk goes to hug her. He's like, "Please, Captain, not in front of the Klingons."
Not in front of the Klingons.
I assume
the hug he's trying to give Spock is one of the most awkward hugs I've ever seen. It was like, should I hug you? Can I hug you? I want to. It's a very odd hug. I can't quite articulate it.
I think he was going in for a full-on kiss. They were giving the fan service. They were doing all of the gay shipping between Kirk and Spock, and they were like, "Let's do it in this one. Let's."
So the final scene, well, not the final scene, but the final scene in the I don't know what it's like a function room on the Enterprise. Again, it's very reflective, and it's reflective about life. It's reflective about death and belief, and we do see.
The observation lounge.
Yeah, and we see where Kirk is like, I lost a brother once. And then I was able to get him back. And originally I'm just like, oh, he's on about George. He's actual. Oh no, he's actually on about Spock. Okay,
not his son. Not talking about like, the horror of losing my son. It's like no.
Yeah, it's very Worf. Where he's just like, do you remember you had a son? Maybe you will in Star Trek 6. But
Do you think like rather than Father's Day, he has a Remember You're a Dad Day where he just goes, no,
no, because
forgot about that.
you're like the son I never had. But
Because I forgot about the one I did.
Yeah. But again, the ambassadors, where it's just like, we see them cleaned up. We see David Warner non-sweaty, and it's just like, oh, this is the beginning of a fruitful relationship. Blah, blah, blah. Nothing gets done with it. The only plot development for the ambassadors is core, and that's it. We don't see anything with the Romulan. We don't see anything with David Warner. The Klingon commander, he's just like, and then it's just a reflection with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy about the life and death, and then it just ends with row, row, row your boat on a Vulcan guitar.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
And I think that's just the general
Life is
theme.
not but a dream.
But that's the general theme for the whole movie.
Song, you green-blooded, you sing it. The whole point is to have fun singing it.
But on a whole, I understand why Star Trek V gets some of the criticism it gets, because it does have flaws. I don't think some of these flaws were its fault. It was a product of the time and what was going on. But take it on face value, it is a very strong movie, and it shows every character at their very comedic best, at their most human, and it enhances the dynamic of the entire ensemble as far as I'm concerned. So for me, I like Star Trek V. It's not one of my favorites, but I think it is a solid movie, and compared to the motion picture, I would watch this all day, every day, hands down, because it's a very, very solid movie for me. What do you think, Synoiz?
Yeah. Unlike the first movie, I would watch this again. But no, it's a weird one, because like when we're talking about logic, on paper, I should hate this movie, because this movie has so many cinema sins in it. It's not consistent at all. It has so many like plot holes and so many bits where you're like, what the hell is happening? Why is that not resolved? Why didn't they do that? And usually I would tear something apart for that, but it's just so fun. It's the epitome of goofy fun, of going, it's a silly movie, but it's very enjoyable. It's very watchable. And I think it does justice to all of the characters. Like, what I hate is, a lot of the time you go, oh, you made a bad movie, and it kind of pissed on the legacy a bit by having a bad movie. This one doesn't. It does all these crimes and, horrible stuff, and like, to standard kind of cinema stuff. But that was terrible. But it's the fact of, no, you enjoy all the characters. Everyone gets a moment to shine. It has so many good one-liners and stuff in that you can forgive the fact that it just seems to be a series of random events that happen. Yeah, it's a weird one, but I very much enjoyed it. I'm going to be honest.
Mark?
Did I like Star Trek V?
Pile of shite.
He hates it. Plot twist of the century.
Ah,
Why is it your favorite?
Yeah, why did you cosplay a Cybok specially for this episode?
He needs his pain. Anyway.
Because actually that moment is it's definitely top 5 favorite moments of all Star Trek. I need my pain.
Yeah.
Because this movie exemplifies the best of what makes Star Trek so great to begin with, and it's that friendship between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. That's something Star Trek has been trying to recapture ever since Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, at various levels of success, right? And they're old enough to reflect on the absurdity of their lives and careers and the franchise, to be perfectly honest. I like that it's silly fun combined with real emotional sort of integrity. Uh, some of it is really absurd, but it does call itself out. Excuse me, what does God need with a starship? Is very much like, okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's problematic, but it's also they're trying to have an adventure. I don't know. I love this. I love this movie. I love it so much. It's so good. It's not Star Trek 6. It's not Star Trek 2. It's not Star Trek 4. It's not some of the better episodes of TNG or Voyager or DS9. But man, it's simple and silly and fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say actually, based upon what Mark said there, yes, this is the perfect example of a Star Trek ensemble cast and respecting the characters and being great. Like I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but I would call this movie like the anti-Discovery in the fact of it kind of goes, hey, we don't need a complicated plot or a big massive arc kind of thing. We just need to have an enjoyable set of characters that you like watching rather than Discovery, which is like, hey, look at this amazing plot we've got, also let's just not really flesh anyone out and let's just focus on one thing. Like I kind of like it in that regard, where it shows that if you have a good set of characters, you can get away with any story and it'll be enjoyable.
Yeah.
And a good set of actors, not just characters, actors, because everyone shines in this movie. Like Sulu doesn't get much to do, but the wonderful bit where he's piloting the shuttlecraft and it just a bit with his eyes where he's literally just, I can't describe it, but what he does is just.
He's like, am I going to do this or what?
Yeah.
Go? Uh-huh.
Yeah. But it shows.
It's like, this is.
And Uhura gets to do stuff. Uhura gets, like, I got so annoyed in the first one and the second one where it's like, she's there. She's sitting in the background and you're like, just so underused. And then this one, they're like, no, we're going to give Uhura enough time, It's great.
It's
Star Trek 5 seems like we are watching a dinner party story where the crew of the Enterprise is telling the story of this adventure.
Yes, that's what it is. That's what this episode would be. It would just...
We're watching their dinner party story.
Oh yeah, and then God appeared. What? It's again. Then
God? Did you just say
right.
God?
It's
very.
It would be. That's what it would. It's a retelling by loads of different people at once, and they're skipping over all of the random,
all the important bits.
It's very. This is a crew that's been together for 30 years. They recognize the absurdity of the things that they have done. They have been through death and life together. They are the old guard of Starfleet. They've been around the houses and they are so gelled perfectly that they can get the job done. But I mean, it's just the dynamic that they have is the dynamic that should have been there for a long time in other movies as well. That the way that they interact in this movie, I would have loved to have seen it earlier on, and I would have loved to have seen more of it, because it just shows that they are not just a crew. They are some sort of dysfunctional family. Like, they say in the campfire scene at the beginning of the movie, we spend all of our time in space getting on each other's nerves, and what do we do on shore leave? We go away together. And it's just like other people have family and like others, but not us. But it shows that they, in their own way, they have created their own family. And they are, they are just constantly there. And they can't bear to be without each other in some sort of way. And we just see that dynamic, and we see the blossoming of Scotty and Uhura, which is then never seen again in Star Trek, which is sad. But it just... for me, it's a light-hearted romp with some dramatic bits in it. It is just good old-fashioned fun comedy. The one-liners are brilliant. I think most of the one-liners in Star Trek are from The Final Frontier. For me, Spock, yes, Captain. Be one with a horse, yes, Captain. And it's just that. Do you know what? It didn't need to be there. They put it in there, and it just worked. And yeah, I really, really like Star Trek 5. So any further notes before we deal with this incoming transmission?
I'm just so happy that I feel like, us beginning this podcast, doing it for over a year now, working our way through all these episodes, I'm just so glad that this has led me to the moment that my notes on a review just have, and then Spock kills God,
God.
which is just the culmination of all notes ever, just going. And I never thought that I would have that, or we'd be able to just raise that as a point.
It is.
But yeah, I don't want to go on about it too much, but like I say, the film does nothing to dissuade the idea that maybe this actually is God.
Yeah.
And and I just kind of love the idea of going, maybe that's what it is. Like maybe that happens. But yeah, but no, I genuinely
we all see the world through our own lens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who locked God up though? That's the question. Oh,
bigger God.
Oh,
and I'm annoyed that we don't see more of the Romulan. Like, I think she's really good, and we don't get to see enough Romulans. And like, where you guys all know better than me, but where is this in the like lore development of the Romulans in regards to how when we first see Klingons in the first movie, it's where we've just worked out that actually they're this new thing that isn't what they were in the original series.
This is the great thing about the movies. They take place 200 years exactly, so it's 2289. There's still a Romulan and Klingon neutral zone, and Nimbus sort of what they wanted to have was like Nimbus 3 in the if there was a book called Star Trek Star Charts, and it's like semi-canon. It was sort of developed as beta, and then like the TV shows have adapted it. And on the star maps, you've got I'll try and draw it out. So you've got the Federation there. I'll do that. Federation there.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Romulan Empire here, and then the Klingon Empire here. Right there is Nimbus 3. So it's in the Bermuda Triangle of territories. So it's right at the intersection where the Klingons border the Federation borders the Romulans, and the Romulans border the Klingons. So it's sort of like smack bang in the middle, and it's an experiment to see, can all three cultures commingle together and live in harmony without weapons?
Which is fascinating though, because why does this never get developed more? Because we don't ever get to see any good neutral zone stuff. Like, all we hear about the neutral zone is either the Marquee, where it's basically, hey, everyone is constantly suffering and everyone's being tortured by the Cardassians or whatnot in that side of things, or we get like, oh, the Romulans just kill everyone in the neutral zone and whatnot. And then here we kind of go, they do seem to be functioning together, like the three ambassadors. And it's a bit
All I will say to you, young Science Officer Synoiz, is watch Star Trek Prodigy Season 1 to get some juicy neutral zone action. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Yes, Fletcher, don't you shake your head at me. It's juicy. It's neutral zone. So juicy. And Janeway drinks coffee.
To be fair, like I will commend Prodigy.
Pressed juicy.
Double
with pulp.
I will commend Prodigy for like how amazing the villains are in it. Like the robot guy, the robot second in command is so good. I'd love, I'd love to see stuff like that in Trek if it wasn't so difficult to CG.
Ironically, Gwyn, is it Gwyn or Glyn? She is Lucy in Fallout. Oh, so there is a Star Trek link to a Fallout right there. Anyway, we are getting an incoming transmission.
Incoming transmission.
Miles?
Holy balls, it's back. Miles. You thought it died with me on the sickbay table when Synoiz killed me last week.
Killed is a strong word. Fired into the sun is, more accurate.
But then my gingerness repelled me back like two opposite poles of a magnet.
Oh my God.
Is what happened is it just basically your actual gingerness and your susceptibility to the sun actually went full circle, so you gained an immunity from extreme heat.
Are you saying I slingshot around the sun because I'm that ginger and went back in time?
Yeah.
Perhaps. Welcome, everybody.
Less of a plot hole than this film,
Oh, you
can believe anything.
Bitch. Welcome.
Makes people good. Anyway.
Welcome, everybody, to the double wheel of episodes. If this is your first time watching Trekkin Up North, congratulations, and we are so sorry. In this double wheel right here, programmed asterisks, is every episode of Star Trek in existence. Huge asterisks. And what we do, we spin that double wheel, and whatever the wheel lands on, we yell at the top of our lungs, double! Everyone
Or
in
you
the
can
comments.
type it.
Or you can type it in the comments. You make on the live chat.
As the wonderful Joe did last time, we can video yourself yelling Dabo and put it in our Discord, which you can join.
Straight into the Nerdy Up North Discord. Where is that? Have a look in the description below.
But I don't fucking know.
Science Officer Synoiz. Every week you say the same thing. I'm hoping to God you got to say something different this week. Science Officer Synoiz.
Are you suggesting that I'm not original? Are you suggesting that I keep sort of playing out one joke forever?
Yes.
Okay, well,
What
I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix things up, okay, a little bit this week.
Okay.
And okay, the episode that I want us to get on the Dabber wheel is it's Code of Honor. Code of Honor, come on! Bring it on.
Code of Honor. Why do you want Code of Honor? Like, why? Why do you hate your life?
It's the end of the show if we get Code of Honor.
You've missed it. You've missed it. Why do you need Code of Honor? I need my pain. You should have said that. Mark, delicious Mark, with his hair and his pies. What would you like us to review next week on Trekkin Up North?
You're not here, so Code of Honor.
Picture.
What?
Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Again? Oh, God.
Again? We've already done it.
Oh, you already did it. I didn't know that.
We're chronologically reviewing
Was I there?
No. You were.
If you were, something good could have been said about it. But
yeah.
It's a really good movie.
No,
it's a movie.
It
is a movie.
It is a movie. It was printed to film. I'm
sorry, Mark. I know you love it, but it's just me just being like, nope. I will die on this hill.
I want to see Take Me Out to the Holosuite.
Which one's that? Odo and
DS9. DS9, the baseball episode. Take Me Out to the Holosuite.
Yeah.
Just so I can get Worf say, "Death to the opposition."
I don't like Nemesis, so
yeah.
Well, we're reviewing that soon.
Eventually.
Yeah, we will get to Nemesis. Month 10. That's hang on. When is that?
End of the year, I think.
It is. No, it's October.
Is it?
Star Trek. Oh no, Nemesis is Star Trek 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's October. We're reviewing Star Trek Nemesis.
Well, at least we've got a scary one for Halloween, I suppose.
It's only Tom Hardy. He's fine. But by the way, I saw.
Hold on. Lee's just commented in the chat. Star Trek: The Motion Picture is one of the movies of all time. I agree with this. That is a
Lee just nailed it.
Speaking of Star Trek Nemesis, I saw Tom Hardy's audition for Star Trek Nemesis. It was filmed on the NX-01 torpedo set. Just on a table with Patrick Stewart on the NX-01 sipping Romulan ale. It was the most meta video I have ever seen. So I'm hoping for Take Me Out to the Holosuite. So what I'm going to do, everybody, I'm going to load up the dabble wheel right now. The dabble wheel is loaded. I'm going to count down from 3. And when this wheel stops on an episode, you all have to type Dabo. We have to yell Dabo. Everyone has to comment Dabo. Everyone has to phone me and yell Dabo down the phone, including you, Mother. I know you're watching.
Hello.
I want the episode where Kirk becomes a Native American. That's the one that I want.
Oh, when he develops the sideburns. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good
That's
season.
on par with Code of Honor, maybe.
It's a season 3 episode. It's a good season 3 episode.
That's great. That's a good episode.
Right. In 3, 2, 1. Instant anxiety gets. Oh my God! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go! Oh! Double! Star Trek: The Next Generation True Q. Let's get the
Whoa.
synopsis up.
This might be our first Q episode.
It is
Can you
our
believe
first Q episode. Oh my god, it is Star Trek: The Next Generation, Season 6, Episode 6, True Q. And the synopsis just merely says, Q once again graces the Enterprise with a visit, claiming that a young intern on board is really a Q.
Yes, this is a good one. She has a crush on Riker.
She does. She
Yeah.
does. Does anyone know who it is? Who plays?
It's one of those episodes where a mere mortal has to promise not to use their superpower. In fact, it's the second or third Next Generation episode where a mere mortal has to promise not to use their superpower.
Yeah.
Does anyone know?
This is. I
who-
remember this is an absolutely great one. The Double Reel really likes season 6, doesn't it? Like,
We've had a few from season 6. Yes.
Yeah.
This is. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
No, there's a real god.
Yeah.
that's it. No, you
Olivia.
couldn't kill Q with a machine gun.
Olivia Dabor is Amanda Rogers. She looks
Yeah.
kind of like the actress out of Knocked Up. I can't remember her name. It escapes me now. She was in Grey's Anatomy as well.
Oh,
it is,
the dog girl.
yeah.
Dog.
It
girl.
is. This is a really good episode to go, and we're going back to TNG season 6. I think the Dabble Wheel is just going through. We need to add more into the Dabble Wheel. I think we need to spice.
There's a
this
lot
up.
of this. There's a lot. I know it's three guys here. Well, it's
1.5.
Yeah.
1.5. There's an amount of guy here, and there's a lot of dishing in it with Crusher and Troy and the girl in this episode. They do a lot of gossiping, which I always think is fun. I like it when Star Trek characters gossip with each other.
It's our first
Dr.
John Delancey
Pat.
episode. Yeah, our first John Delancey
Yeah.
episode. I love Q. Always-
Heigl, yeah.
Yeah. Catherine
Heigl.
Heigl. That's it. Yeah, I
Catherine
thought she
Heigl.
looked like
Thank you
Catherine
for
Heigl,
it.
yeah. Oh god, this is going to be a good episode. So we have got True Q next week on Trekking Up North, everybody. Breaking news from my mother. Mark,
Hello,
I
Mama
really
Goodwill.
love your headband.
Hmm?
She says nothing about you, Graham. It's all about Mark this week.
No one likes me. They only like what's on my head.
Is that why the camera's on knee vision, so no one can see the top of your head?
I'm sitting on the floor. I'm actually not sitting on the floor.
So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Treks and Trekkers, that has been our
Thanks,
review.
Mom.
Thanks, Mom. I'm okay, Mother. Thanks for asking. You haven't spoken to me in a week, but I'm fine.
She's just like,
I,
entertain me, son.
I'm waiting for the angry buzzes to start coming through. That has
We
been
love
our.
Mama Goodwill.
We love Mama Goodwill. By the way,
Make her sound like a witch doctor or something.
Yeah.
Oh, go down to the bayou and see Mama Goodwill.
You're gonna die.
Mama Goodwill says get fucked.
Could you tell me the way to
Right.
town? It's right back where you came from, boy. It's okay. We're all inbred anyway. That has been our review of Star Trek V: The Final Frontier. We did it, guys. It was so much fun. I would like to thank our very special guest, Mr. Mark Cartier, and the headband for joining us this week. Yes, Science Officer Synoiz. Synoiz. Every week I ask this, but Science Officer Synoiz. Oh no, sorry. Breaking news from the mother. Your phone works, doesn't it? I'm in trouble. Science Officer Synoiz, what are you doing this week?
Panicking.
Good.
No. Well, actually, after this, probably going to take by 10 o'clock, I'm going to be streaming on Twitch. So please join me on Twitch, and I will tell you all about all the things I'm stressing about at the minute. Because, yeah, I'm kind of struggling at the minute because I have so much that I'm doing with my fundraising and stuff and all of the different projects that I'm working on and trying to see through to fruition. And it's getting me. It's getting me. Like, I've had a couple of moments this week of just being like, oh, God, I'm going to give up. I can't stand this. So, yeah, but join me on stream, twitch.tv/SYNOIZ for that. And we were playing some Final Fantasy IX this weekend I've got to paint my hallway. I've got to add some merchandise to a new store that I'm setting up. So you'll soon be able to buy the Velvet Snatch merchandise and Girl Global merchandise, which would be good. And all of that money goes to charity, which is great. But yeah, and then we've got to write the show because if you're in the northeast of England, we have a drag cabaret murder mystery show called Slagatha Christie in the Polari Peril that I'm writing and hosting. And I'm really happy because bar one, we got my perfect cast for this and they all agreed to do it. But yeah, we're still putting it together and it is basically in 2 weeks' time. So yeah.
Where is that?
So yeah, join me on that journey if you want. But yeah, that's it.
thevelvetsnatch.com/donate is in the links in the description below. You can find also the chance to donate to help Nina get a parachute as she jumps out of her plane. So if you go down to the GoFundMe link down below, we can for just £2, you can let Nina have a parachute. So when she jumps out the plane, she can land without going splat. Yeah, please donate to Nina's GoFundMe page on that. Nerdy Up North, holy hell, tomorrow we have got an interview with actor and stuntman Ian White from Alien vs. Predator and many.
Everything.
Many. He is a tall man as well. We met him at Nerdfest and it was just like...
If IMDb listings were like notches on a bedpost, he wouldn't have a bed left. That's basically the reality of Ian White.
Yeah, it would look like Swiss cheese. We have got all of our friends, though. We have got this thing called the Shuttle Pod Show down there on the links below, so make sure you go subscribe to that. We have got Clone Star Podcast, who just interviewed Jeff Russo, the composer. Jeff Russo, that is insane. I am totally not jealous, Mike. We have...
Well, Mike.
All of our friends have the links in the descriptions below. We've got the Velvet Snatches YouTube channel. We've got JL Sawyer, a friend of the show down there. Please, if you like what we produce, why? But also subscribe to everything else that you see below. We've got Ian White on the Nerdy Up North podcast tomorrow. We've got Monsters Up North on Monday. We've got the Gaming Up North Ramblecast. We will be back this time next Friday, fingers crossed, to review True Q. Also in July, the busiest month for Trekkin Up North. Why is that, you ask? Well, I'm at BBC Studios to be interviewed about Trekkin Up North's appearance at Destination Trek in Blackpool on the 28th of July. So I'm totally not nervous at all. I've then, with Science Officer Synoiz and the entire Nerdy Up North crew, venturing down to Blackpool to be at Destination Trek. To be within our people, our disciples. There will be shenanigans. There may be prizes as well if you come along to Destination Trekking that you may win. And then me and Synoiz are off to Las Vegas, baby, for what's it called? Star Trek Las Vegas, STLV in Las Vegas.
How did you mess that one up?
Shut your beautiful face.
Of all of the conventions.
Shut your beautiful face. We are at STLV in August of this year. We will be running around the convention like blue ass flies, melting in our costumes, but having fun with all the other podcasters there. So if you're in Las Vegas for that, please come and say hello. You may get a sticker. Anything else to add, gentlemen?
Also, I will mention that we got the green light for it the other day. We're still working out the details, but if you're watching this, you will be happy to know that we are going to be organising some Nerdy Up North quizzes that are going to be for charity as part of my campaign, where we will be hosting these in Sunderland once we've got everything sorted. And yeah, you could potentially take part in a big quiz about all these different subjects and all the different aspects of Nerdy Up North. So yeah, tell me if that's something that you would enjoy, and yeah, let's get all involved in it.
We totally weren't designing the trophies today.
Fucking hell, no.
Yes. We totally weren't. And they totally weren't unhinged. But yes.
It was a lot of voice notes of us just laughing at each other.
There was a lot of snorting. Yeah, there was a lot of snorting going on because we are British. But the final bit of breaking news I have is for Science Officer Synoiz from my mother. Graham, you need vitamins. That is it for this week's Trekking Up North.
You hear that, Lee? I need vitamins.
Vitamin D.
I need protein and 10 nutrients. Help me.
Okay. On that note, I have been Captain Goodwill. He's been Science Officer Synoiz. That has been Mark Cartier. Until next week, stay safe, live long and prosper. And as always, Miles.
Nina?
Miles. Ah, Keiko.